A day removed from the Celtics opening night win, and we're still just going gaga over the Jays and their performance. Plus, the defense, very impressive. Joe Mazzulla, also very impressive, talking about it with Tom Westerholm in a somewhat silly Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-Team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast right here in the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and I'm here for you every day, Monday through Friday. And I think this season, maybe a few extra days, maybe throw in some extra bonus post-game pods. You know, we'll see how the season goes. It's going to be a good season. I want to give you the content that you desire. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listening and part of your daily routine. I'm John Karalis. I'm hoping, first of all, that you subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. And on YouTube. I'm also a former professional basketball player who now covers the team for Boston Sports Journal. I've also written a book called The Boston Celtics All-Time All-Star, and I'm now realizing that my pointing at the camera has made things blurry because it's focused. There we go. Let's bring in Tom Westerholm, Tom_NBA. Got to make sure that the face is in full, crisp focus. Maybe not. Maybe blurry might be better. Maybe that's the secret to getting more YouTube viewer. Like, oh, he's blurry. He's in a nice kind of like, we can't see exactly what he looks like.
Like an ASMR type thing, right? Like where it's kind of that soft noise that's just like, but like it's like soft sight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like an ASMR pivot is natural for this podcast.
Yeah.
You know,
just talking really quietly about the Celtics.
I'm very impressed by how the Celtics performed in the opening game.
Does that work? Is that?
I've never understood ASMR, but like
I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't. Is that how it goes? I have no idea.
I think so.
I thought Joe Mazzulla had a very nice debut as a head coach.
I'm as always, I'm probably wrong, but like I think ASMR is like for people who really like mouth noises. You know what I mean? Like I think that's like the thing, right? They like I think something about
it's like
that.
An auto sensory something or other. So everything is like just the noises. Yeah, it's just certain noises that get people. Maybe there are people who are listening to and watching the podcast who didn't realize they were into that, and now maybe I have to do two versions of every podcast. I have to do this version.
And then I have to do one where I'm really low here on the microphone saying,
this is just like, that's just NPR, isn't it? Like, this is just like,
yes, Tom Westerholm.
Celtics Public Radio.
Yeah, I feel like we should, don't get too excited there, Tom. We're talking about,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I can go the other way. I bought this sucker. I have a megaphone here where I can talk very loudly. I'm screaming it from the rooftops, Tom. I think this team is a contender.
There's something very appropriate about you just having a megaphone like within arm's reach. Like,
I have it right.
You're just prepared. Like
I had it.
We didn't talk about like doing ASMR before the pod, and you were ready with your megaphone.
I was thinking about. So this is how I operate. I'm doing a bit. I'm thinking about doing a bit where I want to do, I'm screaming it from the rooftops, and I do this Celtics defense will be very good. And I'm just screaming it from the rooftops. And I was thinking about doing a segment where I was like, okay, we're going to bring it down a notch, and we're not going to go too crazy about a 3-game losing streak. So it kind of naturally works into it, but I'm going to put the best part about this megaphone is that I'll show it to the people on YouTube. It comes with a bottle opener on the handle because if you are using a megaphone, there's a good chance you're going to need to be drunk while using it. So you want to have your like, come on, Patriots, Move the ball, damn it. A bunch of people are very, very upset with us right now. Can we talk basketball, please?
Yep.
I guarantee you someone is already writing the comment, skip to 5:01 in the YouTube video if you want to get past the crap with the megaphone. All right. Sorry. Somebody in their car just swerved off the road. I really do apologize. Tom, you watched, presumably you watched a basketball match between the Boston and Philadelphia concerns. What stood out for you other than the obvious, we had Jalen, we had Jayson, all of that stuff. Those guys are very good at basketball. What stood out to you? What was your big takeaway outside of that?
Yeah, and I mean, just to really quickly touch on that, I don't think that should be brushed off, partly because, like, Jayson looked really good right away, and, like, that matters quite a bit. And
you're talking about because he's normally a slow starter.
Yeah, and, like, he and Jalen worked really well together. And, like, I don't think, like, after watching how long it took them to kind of get to this point,
That's fair.
Just the ups and downs, I don't think that should be brushed past. I thought that was a big deal. It was cool to see it. It was cool to see it last through the offseason. Like,
let's not brush past it. Let's talk about it, because
I think the big thing to me is just like it's not lightning in a bottle. They've figured a lot of things out that weren't just like a couple guys hitting a hot streak. They are ready to go. They're ready to be stars together. I mean, look, overreaction to one game, sure, whatever. But like, it's not, because it stretches back to last season. And
yeah.
It showed up again last night, and I thought that mattered quite a bit.
Yeah, I mentioned this was my first segment in last night's show, where I don't want to turn this into a ton of praise for Jayson and not enough praise for Jalen, because Jalen was awesome. So but the thing about Jayson's game is, I think there was a huge advancement in his game as far as the driving. And I'm just going to hammer that point home as often as I possibly can, because we've watched Tatum drive and get to the rim plenty of times. And we've watched him drive and kind of glide past the rim a ton. And that was the big criticism for last year. But this Tatum was determined. That spot right there on the floor, that's where I'm going. And I don't give a damn which of you Sixers is in my way. I'm getting there. And it was a level of that I've not seen from Tatum. It's just in the way he did it. Just in the stylistic way that he did it. It just felt like something has clicked with him. And it's not an overreaction to one game, because I've been seeing it throughout preseason. It's like, people might get sick of me saying it, or maybe you love me saying it, because it means that Tatum is doing something extraordinarily well. Attacking the front of the rim,
yes,
where he's just, I'm going here, and I'm getting to the front of the rim, which means you're not going to block me there, man. I'm going through you. Was, of the 70 points that were scored, I don't care so much about the sidestep threes. I don't care that he hits shots in people's faces. Tatum is going to do that. Jalen's going to do that. I thought Tatum had those spectacular drives. And then just to give Jalen some proper shine, he had a couple of drives, in transition, a couple of finishes in transition where it felt like keeping the ball high, just decisiveness of the moves. It felt like he learned a lesson from last year, and every ball getting slapped away when he kept it down low, that he's learned, if I'm going in, I'm going to protect myself from the slaps that turn into turnovers when the refs can't see that it's your hand or the ball. I'm just going to keep the ball up here and just drive and get my way in. And that's an advancement for Jaylen Brown. So I was impressed by both of them. It's just that Tatum did more of that during the course of the game, so it was much more noticeable.
There was one play, I think it was pretty early on, maybe the first or the second quarter, where Tatum drove at PJ Tucker and just like knocked him backward, and not in a way that was a foul, not in a way that could have been interpreted as anything besides just a guy getting really low, which is something that we know he worked on. There's been reporting that he, one of the big things that he worked on with Drew Hanlen all summer was getting a little bit lower on his drives and kind of creating that contact. Really, just kind of powering into a pretty strong dude. Like PJ Tucker is not a small man, and Tatum just knocked him backward and he drew a foul. Those are two things that he's really worked on this summer, apparently. And like, you see the fruits of his labor right there. Like, that's exactly what you want to see. It's stuff that we've been yelling about, for however long. Like, if Tatum gets X number of free throws per game, he's a 30-point per game guy. He's, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, I mean, that's those types of things that he's starting to put all of these little pieces together of just a genuine, no questions asked MVP candidate, all NBA first team superstar. We saw it last year. We saw how far that can take the Celtics. I think it's such a good sign that we're seeing it early again this year. And to your point, right? Like, it isn't just him. It can't just be him. Like, no superstar is good enough to do it by themselves. And Jalen is showing kind of every bit the same types of things, right? Like, you talk about him keeping the ball high. It's funny that like his thing is like keep the ball high, and like, but also like they both are starting to like duck down lower and protect that and not get stripped. Like you said, just like protect that thing almost like a running back, right? Like, just don't get the ball ripped away from you. I don't know. Again, like kind of like you, I didn't want to like, there's so much other interesting stuff from last night's game that like you kind of hesitate to spend a lot of time on the Stars, but at the same time, like, they scored 70 points. Like, they looked awesome. Right. And that Sixers team, they've got some size, right? Like, they're not like they don't. And the thing is, they don't have anybody who can deal with those two guys, and that's not even necessarily a knock on their roster construction. Those two guys are just getting harder and harder and harder to deal with for everybody across the league. So, I mean, the way those two guys started, I think, is just such a good sign for the Celtics. And it's one game, but it's really encouraging signs.
These two guys, BetOnline has odds out. First player to score 50 or more points in a game. So it goes Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. Kevin Durant's 9-2, Kyrie's 5-1, Luka's 6-1, Trae Young is 7-1, LeBron 15-2, and then Jayson Tatum 8-1. 8-1 odds on Jayson Tatum to be the first player in the NBA to score 50. Then you scroll down a little bit, and Jalen Brown is at 35-1 on this list. 35-1, man. Those are good odds, man. I'd throw a couple bucks on Jalen Brown. He could drop 50 on Friday.
100%. I mean, look at last year, right? Like, they showed that graphic on NBC Sports Boston during the game. The most points on an opening night, Jalen holds that record at 46. Like, he was only 4 away from 50 last year on opening night. And then number 2 is a 4-way tie between Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Bob Cousy, and I can't remember who the fourth one was. But there were, it was a 4-way tie for guys who scored 35.
No, I'm kidding.
No, I don't think it was Purvis. I'm as surprised as you were. But man, like, it's not at all like it. I tried to put a little money on Jalen. My bad betting advice. There you go.
BetOnline.net, by the way, your number one source for all your betting needs. Continued source for everything besides the NBA, MLB, MMA, boxing, golf. Check it out. They got these odds that are coming out from time to time here. So between Jalen and Jayson, John Morant, Joel Embiid, Dame, Anthony Edwards, Giannis, Jokic, Karl Anthony Towns, Steph Curry, Devin Booker, DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan, I'm sorry. No.
Probably not.
No. I'm putting Jalen up there ahead of a lot of these guys. So go to betonline.net, check them out, because they're going to have everything that you need. You can use your mobile device, betonline.net. Where the game starts, we ask you to please gamble responsibly. Tom, I was impressed by the defense. Yeah. And I think, you look at the game and it's 117 points. So the defense, not great overall, but they gave up, 65 at halftime. So in the third quarter, they gave up 25, it's fine. The fourth quarter, they gave up 29, but I'm willing to give them a pass on some of that because basically the end of the game, Joel Embiid padded his stats a little bit. You had the two fast break points that Philly got were on like the last 30 seconds to go. Tobias Harris gets a steal and a dunk. Like,
so I don't think that's right. I think that's a mistake on the scores because it was like 20-2 before that, and then went in, and then I was gonna go write that stat, and I wrote 22-4 because of that fast break dunk, and then I went back, and the box score still said 22-2. So I could be wrong, or whatever this box score said, 24-2, whatever.
24-2, yeah.
Yeah. So I like something that super doesn't matter because the point is that the Celtics annihilated them in fast break opportunities, but I do think that stat was a little off for the record.
Well, regardless, Tom, stickler for facts, Tom Westerholm.
Stats, Tom,
Yeah, man. Lighten up. I thought the Celtics did a great job. They always do a good job on Embiid. I heard the stat floating around that now Al Horford is 9-3 all time against Embiid in games they play each other. So that's pretty good. And the Celtics did a really good job of mixing up their looks. And the classic way to defend Embiid, you play him straight up with a guy like Horford. And if you watch, it's almost like a reaction from like a dog where you see, you put your hand up and they all, like a dog will, like, if you teach them like the high five, you get the ball into Embiid and all of a sudden everybody's arms go out straight up. As soon as he touches the ball, everybody's arms just go straight out. And as soon as he put the ball on the floor, somebody digs. That's the best way. And I remember specifically last year at one point, somebody didn't do that. And you heard just Ime in the back sound like Tom Thibodeau, dig. But that's the game plan.
That was an opportunity for your megaphone, for the record.
I could have, but I wanted to go more muffled, kind of like background. Tom, I'm painting a picture in my podcast thing. Okay, you're interrupting the art. Okay, you know what? I'm all thrown off. Let's just start over from the beginning. Hey, welcome back to the Lock.
ASMR.
Yeah, it just fast forwards. I thought they did a great job, and I think you capitalize on Embiid being a little lazy. I think he's just a little slow in the first game of the season in certain situations, and I thought that led to a bunch of the turnovers there that the Celtics were able to capitalize on. He had 6 of their 14 turnovers. 14 turnovers is not a lot. It's not a great number. 10 is a great number for the Celtics.
Yep.
14 is okay. 14 turnovers, you live with that, not a problem. But the fact that 14 of those turnovers became 22 points off of those turnovers that's like all of them. There's 28 potential points, assuming they're all layups. You get 22 points out of it. That's really, really great for the Celtics, and just the way they played Embiid in the second half, especially, was really great.
I just thought it was so interesting to see, like we didn't see anything new, like from Embiid and the Sixers. It's like, how many times are we going to keep doing this? Like, it's. I
agree, man.
I'm sorry, because the other thing that's weird, right, is that you'll see Sixers people who are all blaming Doc Rivers and Doc Rivers this, Doc Rivers that. I'm sure Doc Rivers holds some of that, but at some point, whatever this is, they keep doing it over and over and over again, and it's like we saw how deadly a Harden Embiid pick and roll would be, right? Like those two dudes, oh my gosh, there's nothing you can do about that. Every time they ran that, it was a bucket. There's almost nothing you can do about it. But then, Embiid, by the third quarter, he's shooting threes. I'm not saying Joel Embiid can't shoot threes. Of course, he can shoot threes. But the whole concept of Joel Embiid is the pressure that he applies on your defense. And when he shoots those threes, he's not applying pressure. He's just a pick and roll big man. That's just the same thing as any other dude. Then you just play normal NBA defense. And hey, what are the Celtics good at? Normal NBA defense. I don't. Something, if the Sixers want to do anything, something has to change there. And I mean, it's the first game of the season, all the time in the world. But again, much like the Tatum and Jaylen thing, first game of the season, okay, but we've seen evidence of this with the Celtics guarding Embiid now since, 2018? Like this has been going on for a long time, and it's just the same thing every single year. So, look, I mean, I don't know. I know people wanted to crown the Sixers. I mean, Embiid Harden was fantastic in the first quarter. The Celtics really made a lot of good adjustments, I thought, as the game went on him too. But I mean, the Celtics defense just throttled the Sixers for the final two quarters, and like, I don't know, man. I just am not seeing anything new from the Sixers yet. Maybe we will by the second matchup or whatever, but so far it's just like the same old thing. And like, yeah, the Celtics are really good at defending that. So I expect that unless things change, the Celtics will continue to be really good at defending the Sixers doing the exact same thing over and over and over again.
It's so funny because every year we go into it and we go, all right, man, I don't know how they're going to guard Embiid. This is going to be a problem. They don't have Robert Williams and all that stuff. And they just keep doing the same stuff. Yeah. And it's like, oh, yeah, we forget. It works. They know how to do it. It's funny. After the game, on a day like this, I'm driving to practice, and you pop on a couple of podcasts. I want to hear what the Sixers side has to say so I can just get things from their perspective and, listen to Locked On Sixers, and I listen to Rights to Ricky Sanchez. And the Ricky Sanchez guys, they're like, what's the difference? They said the exact same thing. Like, we could have run a podcast from 3 years ago, changed teams, and just had the same reaction. Somebody submitted a piece to them, and it's like, this is the exact same thing. It's the exact, and to your point, what has Embiid added to his game? What has he added to his game? Now, I say this as notoriously not the biggest Embiid fan in the world. Aesthetically, honestly, I can acknowledge their greatness. I think Embiid can be MVP this year. I think he might be the MVP this year. That's who I would guess right now. So I'm not trying to be like full on hater, but aesthetically, watching him and James Harden together, my two most aesthetically displeasing players in the NBA together, I was just like, my stomach was churning watching them just, go for these fouls and just, I had a whole rant at the end of last night's podcast about the flagrant on Al Horford, which was just still complete crap in my eyes. But every turnover, it was a bad one. But there's a play where Embiid had the ball on the right block. He's on Noah Vonleh, and he spins to the baseline, and he's going to come back around. And here comes Tatum. Boom, rips him. And then Embiid's reaction is like, oh, where's the foul? And you're just like, oh, God, just be the beast that you are and go to the rim. But no, he hasn't added anything to his game. He's just like, I'm going to be just this Joel Embiid that I've always been, and I'm not going to add anything significant to my game. And that it is no wonder that the Sixers have not added any playoff success to their journey as well. Embiid has stagnated as a MVP runner-up, and the Sixers have stagnated as second-round exits. It's not a surprise.
And it's like, and this is where I kind of want to bring it up with Doc Rivers, bring it back to Doc Rivers too, right? Because like Embiid, okay, like it's kind of crazy to say he's stagnated as the MVP runner-up, even though I agree with you, right? But like, what a bizarre sentence to say, right? Like he's stagnating as the second best player in the NBA. Like, all right, yeah, but at the same time, it's not doing anything. Like people have, really good teams who have good personnel have figured this out. If the Sixers want to go to the finals this year, there's a very good chance they're going to have to do it through the Celtics. And unless they do something new. So again, that's kind of where I come back to the pick and roll stuff. Like, okay, do like a week where you run 20 of those per game. Because how many did they run last night? 3, 4? Because it was a bucket every time. Like it worked every single time. Because for all of the very legitimate complaints that people can have about Embiid and Harden, like that pick and roll is devastating, completely unstoppable. So yeah, I mean, I know not to try to turn this into a Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast, but
I mean,
it's like I don't know, like because it's crazy, right? You watch Noah Vonleh go in there, and yeah, the first half he's completely overmatched by Joel Embiid. I mean, I'm sitting there watching that first half, and especially the first quarter, and thinking to myself, like, man, the Celtics have nothing for him. He's getting every offensive rebound. He's just destroying them. Guys are fouling out like crazy. Like, this is trouble. And then I look at the score, and I'm like, oh, they're like down by 2. It's fine.
Yeah.
And then like the second half rolls around, Horford's only got 2 fouls, and it's like, oh, they're fine. Because they're just going to do the same thing they've always done.
Right. They're going to wait for Embiid to run out of gas.
He's going to start shooting threes, which is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And it's over. Because then the Celtics get out in transition. The Sixers don't have the personnel to get back. It's like, it's such a formula at this point. It's like, I don't know. It's like a Marvel movie. It's like, oh, man, wonder what's going to happen next, guys. Like,
It's true. And then, I didn't mention this in yesterday's podcast, but the Embiid smart dust up, which is guaranteed to happen in every single game. You have that awesome photo of Marcus Smart pushing Embiid and him like, wah! And
Smart just dead faced.
Dead face. So just like, that's just an all-time great photo. But then in this one, I don't know, man. If a Sixers fan is going to listen to this and going to be like, oh, yeah, well, these are Celtics guys saying this. I really do think that Embiid was trying to hurt Marcus Smart. I thought, like, it was obvious that he had Smart's arm. And this is why I know that he knew he had Marcus Smart's arm. Because Embiid is a master of flopping, just like a lot of guys are masters at flopping. They are aware of every time that they're touched, including when Marcus Smart was on the floor and he touched Embiid's ankle and Embiid fell down because he wasn't off balance. He just fell. And he has a knack for falling and drawing fouls all the time. Great. Congratulations. You can game the system. He knew. He's aware. He knows when a body is on him. He knows when an arm is on him. He can't tell me that he has the ball and he didn't know there was an arm. There's clearly a hand still on the ball. There's clearly an arm inside your arm. You know, because you're an NBA player, you are hyper aware of every little surrounding around you. Plus, you're a back to the basket guy. You're trained to feel bodies on you. Every post player, every back to the basket guy like Embiid, that's how you play in the post. You feel guy on your hip, guy in the middle of your back, know where they are. So he knew exactly where Marcus Smart was, and you can't tell me otherwise. So when he pulled that way, he's trying to hurt Marcus Smart. They don't like each other, and that was part of and I believe wholeheartedly that Embiid was trying to do something with ill intent, and then Smart grabs the guy and trips him. If you want to believe that was an actual trip, fine, whatever. But that little dust up there, that's something that's going to happen in the next game, and in the next game, and in the next game. And it's a matter of who can keep their wits about them. And Marcus Smart afterwards had the best quote. It was like, I could have cracked his skull open, but I'm too mature for that right now.
That was very funny. Not too mature to talk about it, but definitely too mature to do it.
Yeah. Just letting you know I could crack your skull open, but I'm too mature to do that.
Just letting you know that I could crack open the head of this 7'2" behemoth. You're like, all right, Marcus. Like, you're a tough dude, but
oh man.
My thing with that play was just I don't know what Embiid was thinking. I don't know what he felt. Whatever. Like, I'm not a part of it. But like people spent 5 years trying to tell me that Kelly Olynyk was super dirty because of that play with Kevin Love. And fine. But if so, then that Embiid play was just as dirty, right? I don't know. Because that it's a tough one, right? Because things happen very quickly in basketball. You're wrestling for the ball, fine. But if one is dirty, then the other one is too. And if one is not dirty, then knock over my microphone. If one is not dirty, then the other one, I don't know. But just let's be consistent here, right? Because if trying to wrench the ball, if you're trying to do that pulling maneuver, if that's dirty, then then it was dirty when Embiid did it to Smart too. So I don't know. It didn't look great to me. I didn't think it looked very good either. And I'm usually somebody who kind of errs on the side of giving guys benefit of the doubt. Everything happens fast, blah blah. I didn't think it looked good either, especially multiple replays. You don't want to see somebody try to get you don't want to see somebody get hurt like that. And it did, it looked like it had the potential for it for sure. So,
anything else from the game as we get ready?
Quick little lightning round here.
Let's do it. Lightning round.
All right. I thought Grant Williams was great. I thought that as the start of him trying to get a big contract, you can see the pieces for it, right? Like he's going to be like a very, very useful piece on this team. I thought even though I didn't think he guarded James Harden very well, I thought the fact that he can he's a guy who's turning into somebody who you can throw at both Harden and Embiid is real interesting. Just a really good player, man. He's turning into quite a basketball player. And then I also thought, Joe Mazzulla, the fact that because in that first quarter I started to think to myself oh boy, I hope he's hope he's not overmatched here. He's not. The players seem to respect him. I thought Tatum's quote afterward about how Mazzulla is asking them for help and advice as much as they're getting advice from him. That's the mark of a really smart coach, because I think the big thing is that the players understand how difficult Mazzulla's spot is. The players know that Mazzulla was never planning on being the head coach this season. They're well aware of that. And so of course they want to help him too. And but the fact that there's also that respect from the players of this dude did unbelievable scouts against the Heat, blah, blah. He's done all this stuff for us. He's been around since 2019. It can be kind of this cohesive, symbiotic relationship where they kind of show him how to be an NBA coach, and he is then an NBA coach. I think I think there's a lot of potential for a really good partnership between the players and Mazzulla.
I will agree with that. I did mention it a little bit last night in the podcast, but I will happily expand on that, because this is the thing I've been saying. This is the thing I've been saying multiple times on the podcast, and then I wrote in my season preview on Boston Sports Journal. This has to be the most collaborative effort we've seen in the NBA. Because this is the most unique. We've never seen a guy take the interim job 3 days before media day. That's just he doesn't have the same advantages in some senses, because if you were a new head coach coming into 34 years old, whatever, like Will Hardy's doing in Utah, he gets to hire his own guys. He gets to put his own plan together. He gets to do all that stuff himself. He's very clearly in charge. But Mazzulla has come in, and we'll ask him in scrums, what communication have you had with Brad Stevens about bringing in a certain player? And he's like, none. What have you talked about with him as far as the end of the bench guys? Who are you going to keep? Who are you going to? None. He just said, and now he might be BSing us, but he says, I got no. I'm focused on the on the court stuff. They can focus on the other stuff. And so, but I kind of believe him on that. He's in a very unique situation, and to hear Tatum and Brown kind of admit, we're helping him, he's helping us, and we're getting through this together. This is very much the massive team effort. The coaches, the assistant coaches who may be looking to put together resumes, because we don't know who's going to be around next year. If let's say Mazzulla does great, and if they obviously win a championship, what are you going to do? Look for another coach? No, Joe's got the job. Who's he going to keep? Who's he going to bring back? Is he going to want to just keep the staff and be like, hey, let's run it back? Are they going to want to stay here? Is Ime going to get a job somewhere? Is he going to get let go and go to, I don't know, Brooklyn and say, hey, Damon Stoudemire, we're really close. Come be my assistant over here. You'll be my associate head coach. And he'd be like, well, what's he going to do? So anyway, long-winded way. This is supposed to be a lightning round, John. Shut the hell up. I've been looking for this team to be a big collaboration, and after that game, you heard guys talk about being the big collaboration, and I'm happy to hear that that's how it's going, because that's the only way, in my opinion, that this is going to work.
I think it really speaks volumes. And again, sorry to the lightning round. It was a
lightning round is done.
It's dead. I think it really speaks volumes, right? That like this is a tryout. This is like a job interview for Joe Mazzulla, and it's like in a job interview, you don't get the full financials of the company that you're applying for, whatever. You don't get every like little detail that you might like to have, but like. Yeah, like Mazzulla might not be as in with Brad Stevens as Ime was last season, or as in with Danny Ainge as Brad was, during his tenure, because this is a tryout. But I do think that it speaks wildly good things about Mazzulla, that the players are bought in. That is like the sign that a tryout is going well, right? That's the sign that like the job interview is going well, that like that you can get that collaboration, that you can get these players to all say, hey, like, I am willing to work with you. I believe in you enough to lead us to a championship that, I understand that you don't have all the information, but the information that you don't have, I'm willing to try to share with you. I'm willing to try to work with you on, because I respect you enough. If I'm Mazzulla or if I'm Brad Stevens and I'm looking for reasons to keep Mazzulla, I think that's a big one. Like if Jayson Tatum is willing to say like, hey, like you're not that experienced, but I think down the line, I see the potential of an NBA coach in you, and I'm willing to work with you. That's great. That's exactly what you're looking for.
What else do you need?
Yeah, credit to Joe Mazzulla, man. I think he's working with something here.
And the last thing I needed to mention, because I didn't mention it, I was just so caught up in all the game and how that went. I didn't mention the Bill Russell tribute, which I thought was very nice. And Bill Russell's widow was there, and she had a massive standing ovation during the game, and I don't know what there is to say other than, to acknowledge that it was a very nicely done tribute. And I know there are going to be more tributes. They're going to do another tribute game on his birthday in February. And, they've got the jerseys and all that stuff. So all I want to say is they did a nice job. And it resonated with the guys. Like they were like Jalen Brown, like it really resonated with those guys.
That's what I was going to say too, is I think it like Jalen, I don't think Jalen's somebody who's like nervous about talking in front of a crowd. And I thought that it like Jalen almost sounded a little nervous and a little bit like kind of impressed by the moment. Like he understands the gravity of Bill Russell and of, the importance of that moment. And I think the honor of being the Celtics player who gets to speak in that moment and who was asked to speak in that moment. So, credit to Jalen. I thought his comments were really, like they said, very heartfelt and very powerful, the greatest of men. Like what a thing to say about a man. What a thing to have said about you as your legacy.
Yeah.
And I mean, well deserved, obviously. So, that was really cool. And I thought that it was really cool to see how much that meant to Jalen to be asked to do that.
Yeah, and I think the most important tone of all of it, and I think this has been true of the entire remembrance of Bill Russell, not just basketball. It was not just basketball, and that is the ultimate legacy of Bill Russell, not just basketball. And Jalen hit it perfectly, and I think the Celtics did a really good job. The tone of everything and just everything, the way they put it together was very well done. All right. You know what else is well done, Tom? This podcast.
Great pod.
I enjoyed it. I'm going to pat myself on the back. A little old school wrestling. Was it Barry Horowitz who'd come in? The best part of that, I don't know if you probably didn't pay attention to any of the old school wrestling. Barry Horowitz would come in, give himself a big old pat on the back, and then just get wasted. He was just a jobber that came in all cocky and everything, and his job was just to lose every match. It was hilarious. Wrestling doesn't have enough jobbers anymore. Guys who walk in there and just get crushed to set up other guys' careers. Anyway. Tom, your thoughts on wrestling jobbers?
Sounds to me like you've got a little niche you could try to fill there.
Hey, look, message to the WWE. I am willing to, as a side gig, be a manager. I'm a little too old okay, maybe I could take a chair shot. I don't know. Let's start with across the back before we get to across the head. I'm not that psychotic, but I'm very willing. I got the megaphone. I got like the Jimmy Hart megaphone. I can come out there and start pumping guys up, but I'm very happy to be the manager. I'm happy to be the guy that like throws sand in somebody's eyes or, rips the guy up, like grabs the foot as he's on the ropes and he turns around and points at me and my guy rolls him up for the cheap, cheating win. I'm all for it. So you guys know what to do. WWE, Triple H, get at me.
Get at the underscore boys, but only one of them because I'm out. I don't want to.
Yeah. All right, Tom.
Appreciate you.
Tom Westerholm. Fun times, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same everything. Wherever you get your podcast. If you have not subscribed, then it's not the same. Go subscribe so you can get it directly to your device. This way, when you open up your app, it's right there. Or watch a show on YouTube. You can see me playing stupid things with my megaphone. That sounded dirty. I'm sorry. Just go subscribe to the podcast and share the podcast. Tell your friends. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching Locked On Celtics right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.